our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we've initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Project Management Certification. Do you need it? Which one? PMP or PRINCE2? Our guest speaker today is Bhaskar Dev Chaudhary. Bhaskar is an information technology professional with over 12 years of work experience and extensive exposure to learning and development. He is a PMP certified, PRINCE2 certified, and Microsoft certified trainer. Bhaskar has trained more than 1,500 professionals across the globe on project management, PMP, CA, PM, PRINCE2, Microsoft Project, Advanced Project Management. As a project management consultant, Bhaskar excels in providing project management support services to industry verticals like business re-engineering, IT projects, product development, consulting projects, and IT solution deployment projects. He's previously worked with Microsoft and HCL and is currently associated with Knowledge Woods as a project management consultant and trainer. We expect this webinar to last for an hour with 45 minutes of presentation and the remainder time for Q&A round. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them using questions tab on your control panel. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker today. Over to you, Bhaskar.
Thank you. Thanks, Deepika. Welcome everyone to this session where we would learn about why project management certification is important, and sometimes we are in doubt exactly which certification to go about, and PMP or PRINCE2 is generally on which we debate on. So I'll try to cover up a few topics which should help us in deciding exactly which certification we should go for, which is beneficial for all, for the role that we are doing in the organization, depending on the organization, depending on the location, depending on the client we are catering to. So that it helps you after this session, it would help you to decide which certification to go for, whether it adds value or not, and so on and so forth. So few of the topics that we would cover is written on the agenda. So to start off with, we'll start off with discussing what the world as a professional, as organization thinks about project management as a skill set, thinks about project management certification. Where is the world going in terms of project management? We have read various blogs regarding project management, the importance of that. Now sometimes we also have a question, is this certification so important? I need to grow in my organization, I need to go from one level to another level. Is it so important? So we would like to touch upon a few points which would help us in seeing the importance of project management as a skill set, project management as a certification. Then one question which I generally come across in my trainings, across various blogs, forums, people do come and ask that, does a certification make me a better project manager? So we'll try to cover that aspect. Let's understand how project management certification adds value to be an effective manager. Then we will try to cover up a topic where we discuss the major certifications that we generally debate on. And generally the debate is on PMP certification or PRINCE2 certification or both. As a professional, which certification is beneficial for me? So we will try to look into the factors based on which we will decide the certification. And then some tips which would help you in deciding which certification you should go for, if not both. And last but not the least, I'll try to answer the questions that you put across. As Deepika said, you can put across the questions in the question tab. You can type it, and then I'll be very glad to answer all those questions. So let's just quickly jump onto the first topic, where we discuss that what the world thinks about project management certification, project management skill set. Now to start off with this, everybody, whosoever is in the professional world, in a corporate organization, working in projects, there comes a point in time in their career where they think and decide, now what is the next step forward? How should I go to the next level? What should I do so that my salary increases? What should I do so that my job responsibility increases? What should I do so that maybe I become a manager, if not a manager till now? So what are the things that I should do? To answer those questions, if you read certain surveys, if you read certain blogs, if you read certain reports, if you see that one skill set which has remained high on organizations' radar for the past decade or so, like to the point where they have become almost sought after certification, and it has become an invaluable skill set if compared to the other top level credentials, it has to be project management. It is gaining more and more importance in day-to-day's life, in day-to-day's work that we do. Even organized from the organization's perspective, organizations think that if they have to remain competitive in this chaotic global economy, project management is a skill set which will deliver business results. They have identified project management as one of the top 3 priorities in their organization. If they look into the future, that this is a skill set which they have to build on as they move into the future. To add on to that, some facts and figures which shows the importance of project management certification. If you look at various reports, like one of the reports from Economic Intelligence shows that 80% of the global executives feel that at the time of recession, project management skill set and project management certification has helped them remain competitive even during the recession period. From the organization's perspective, if you look at McKinsey's report and various other top consulting giants report, you'll see that around 60% of the senior executives say that project management is a certification, project management is a skill set which they want to build on. This is among their top 3 priorities if I talk about their goals, organization goals, which they have thought about for the future and current, keeping in mind the current scenario also. Now, as we look into all these reports, all these surveys, as a professional, a question comes in our mind. Is certification very important? Is certification necessary? I know project management. I have been delivering project management projects successfully. I have been in this domain for so and so years. Then why do I need a certification? Right? I know how to do projects. To answer this question, I would like everyone to just think about what exactly is project management about. What does these certifications, what does these various standards talk about? Essentially, project management is something which tells us that it's a structured manner of doing a project. They have studied various projects across the globe, across various industries, and they have come up with certain standards, certain processes, certain step-by-step guide, which if followed will help us in planning the project better, will help us in executing the project better, will help us in controlling, and will help us in delivering the results successfully. Remember, project management certification, project management skill set doesn't say that you will deliver your projects 100% successfully. But these certification, these standards makes chances of delivering a project a bit more favorable than following an ad hoc process. It follows a standard process, and this standard process is not developed out of whims and fancies. It has been developed after studying various projects which has failed, the reasons why they have failed, some projects which have become very successful, why they have become successful, what are the things that people have followed, and they are constantly evolving. They are constantly evolving with the needs of the economy, with the needs of different business organizations nowadays. So project management is a domain which helps us in understanding this structured approach. So why certification is necessary? I go through some project management books or journals or standards that suffice the purpose, but why then certification is important? Right? So to answer this question, especially as an individual, certification is something which is an achievement. Right? It shows the employer, it shows people that I have achieved something. It is a stamp on my resume that I have gone through the rigorous process. I know all the standards, I know all the processes that adds value to project management, that adds value how do we do projects, and ultimately we deliver a project successfully and effectively. So it adds value to my resume. That as an individual, if you look at various job sites, if I talk about in India like Naukri, Monster, Times Job, you will see that a project management job, and one of the mandatory thing out there is a project management certification. So when I go out for a job, looking for a job in project management domain, chances of getting the job is higher if I'm PMP certified or if I'm PRINCE2 certified, right? Rather than being a non-certified professional, because the employer will look. Experience is something which the employer will not be able to understand, but yes, a certification is a stamp that yes, this person knows about project management, knows about the standards which are globally followed. So it helps us getting me a better job. Apart from that, if you look at the various salary surveys done by PMI, Project Management Institute, USA, done by Exelos, and done by various other bodies related to project management, you will see that a certified professional earns at least 15 to 20% higher than a non-certified professional. If I average it out, it's around 15 to 20% higher than a non-certified professional. Look at salary surveys of PMI, latest salary surveys, and you'd get that answer. So higher salary, another reason as an individual. Right. Then if I talk about these certification, this certification is not something where one day I decide that okay, let's do project management certification and then I go ahead and do it. It's not like that. You have to portray certain level of experience that yes, I have handled projects, I have handled teams, I have handled a project right from start to end. Then only I'm eligible to go for these certifications. Right? So it also shows that you have relevant experience related to project management. That is another aspect which helps you in getting a better job, getting a better profile, even rising within your own organization. Plus, as I said, PMP certification of PMP or PRINCE2 helps you in networking. Like if I go to various sites which provide these certifications, like PMP is given by PMI, PRINCE2 now is owned by Exelos. If I go to their master websites, I'll see there are various centers which talks about careers in project management, which talks about networking, which talks about various other aspects of project management. And people from different domains across the globe with varied level of experience comes and joins those forums, joins those networking sites and adds value, adds knowledge. This broadens my horizon as a professional in project management. I learn many things. Plus it also broadens my horizon of getting a job, better job, because it is a networking site where you can know about project management plus also know about the various jobs that are available in the market related to project management. Not only this, as I said, PMP project management certification is not that you decide someday and you go ahead and do it. It is a rigorous process. One has to handle projects, one has to go through certain training programs, one has to understand the various standards, understand the various processes, understand the various activities that we do in project, the structured way of doing the project. So one goes through a rigorous process, and once a person clears a certification, achieves the certification, basically he has gone through this entire process and has achieved that certification. So it is a mark of achievement. It shows your commitment towards project management. It shows that you have gone through that entire process, and it's a stamp in front of the employer. So these are some of the benefits which as an individual, if I think that I can achieve by getting a project management certification. There are also many other benefits, but yes, these are the most common ones and these are the most sought after benefits which as an individual I'll look into. Now, yes, as a professional, hardly there will be any people who knows the benefits of certification. But one question, as I said earlier, that I come across during my training programs, during my webinars, during my sessions that I take in India, outside India, that will certification make me a better project manager? To answer that question, project management certification is a block in your entire project management domain. It's a block in becoming, it's one of the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle which makes you a better project manager. It's not the entire jigsaw puzzle. It's one of the pieces, one of the major pieces which helps you in becoming an effective project manager. But it is not the ultimate. Having knowledge about project management, having certified in project management is not the only thing. You also have to put that knowledge into action. You have to apply all the standards that you have learned, all the processes that you have learned into your project day-to-day life. Then only you will be able to achieve results. Plus, as you know, project is not a one-man job. If I think about large-scale project, there will be many people, team members, stakeholders, management team, suppliers, vendors working with me. I need to have that attitude to handle them in a very effective manner. It's about working with a team, working with people. So I need to have that people management skills. Here comes the soft skills of a project manager, wherein you talk about the interpersonal skills, where you talk about the management skills, motivational skills, decision-making skills, influencing skills, awareness of political and cultural issues that are there in the project, that are there in the organization. All these helps me in becoming an effective project manager. So yes, the answer to the question that will certification make me a project manager? Certification, project management certification, project management skill set, as I said, is one of the pieces of the entire jigsaw set. It makes me an effective project manager, but it is not the only thing that will make me an effective project manager. I need to apply that, and I need to know how to handle the team properly. I need to have my interpersonal and management skills sorted out, and I should know how to handle team and how to put things into action. Then only I'll become a better project manager. Now, once we know the benefits of project management certification, once we know what are the things we need to become a successful, effective project manager, now comes the question, which is the most debatable question. You'll come across forums, you'll come across in various discussion blogs, which certification to go for, and the most discussion is on PMP, Project Management Professional Certification, which is from PMI USA, and another certification which is PRINCE2, which stands for like Projects in Controlled Environment, which is now owned by Exolus. Which certification is beneficial for me? So some of the questions on which people debate, people discuss are these certifications recognized worldwide? Are they valued by the employers in the location where I am doing my project? If in India, if it is recognized in India, if in US, is it recognized in US, if in UK, is it recognized in UK, if it is in Australia, is it recognized in Australia, which location it is more recognized in? Plus, does it help me, certification, does the certification add value to the job role that I am doing, the project management role that I'm performing in my organization? Does that add value? So these are some questions which you will generally come across while you have to decide on the certifications. While most of the people knows what is PMP certification, what is PRINCE2 certification, but they are generally confused on which certification to pick for them, right? And if you do not know your basis of certification selection, on what basis you have selected, then chances are that you will select a wrong certification, and maybe at the end of the day you will not get that much value which you have envisaged, and you will generally waste your time, your money, and obviously you will get demotivated. So very important you know exactly certain things before we go ahead and discuss which certification to go, which certification to pick. To decide on that, you should know what exactly is PMP certification, what it caters to, what exactly is PRINCE2 certification, how it is built, what are the generic things that are there in these certifications. To talk about that, let's first start off with what exactly is PMP certification. Now there are many other certifications, but these two, if you see, are the most widely used and most widely followed. These are the two major certifications. Even if you look at the top 10 certifications, these are the two certifications which you'll find among the top 10 certifications for project management, apart from other IT certifications and other ITS certifications. So to talk about this certification, let's have a brief summary of what PMP is all about, PMP certification. PMP certification is a certification which is based on a standard. And as you know, standard is basically a guidance on project management. It shows what are the various activities that you do in project, how you do it, what are the various tools and techniques that you use, right? What are the various objectives of doing the processes, what are the various documents that we prepare, what are the components of those documents, what are the various plans that we prepare, what are the components of those plans. Every detailed. A standard is a detailed description of what you do in a project, everything a detailed manner. So PMP is a certification which is based on a standard called Guide to Project Management Body of Knowledge. Guide to Project Management Body of Knowledge, which is generally, as I said, the project management certification keeps on evolving. Guide to Project Management Body of Knowledge is right now the edition is 5th edition. This Guide to Project Management Body of Knowledge is structured around subject areas. Subject areas in project management, as in PMP we call them as knowledge areas. Subject areas are basically the planning domains, the domains that we need to plan in a project. Like we plan for scope. Scope means what exactly are the work that we are going to do, what are the requirements we are going to fulfill, what is in, what is out. Then we plan for time. Time management is another knowledge area, another subject area, which tells us how much time. Then we have cost, how much money would be required. And in the same lines we have quality management. How do we ensure we meet the requirements and only the requirements that have been asked for. Then we have HR management, which tells us how do we handle a team. As I said earlier, project management is not about working alone, it's about working with a team. So it also gives guidance, how do we handle a team, how do we acquire a team, how do we manage the team, how do we release the team. Then how communication happens. Most of the time if you say project manager is communicating with either management, stakeholders, vendors, suppliers, team members. So what are the various communication channels that exist? How do you communicate? What are the various formats of communication? So there is a separate subject area for communications management. Then you have risk management, which tells us what are the various threats and opportunities that exist in the project and how do we plan for them. How do we reduce the impact of negative risks like threats? How do we enhance the opportunities that are there existing in my project? Then if I'm working with vendors, there is a separate subject area, how to work with vendors, how to work with suppliers, called procurement management. And last but not the least, there is something called stakeholder management. Stakeholder management, how do you manage stakeholders day in, day out, right from the start of the project till the very end of the project. And putting everything together, there is a separate subject area called integration. How do we put all the pieces of project management together? So this is how project management is structured based on subject areas called knowledge areas. Now these knowledge areas are again further subdivided into called processes. What are processes? Processes, if I talk in layman's terms, those are basic project management activities that we do day in, day out, like collecting requirements, creating work breakdown structure, creating a schedule, creating the budget, estimating cost, planning for risks, identifying risks. So there are around 47 activities called processes. These processes are divided into respective subject areas, knowledge areas, like all the scope related processes are under scope management, all the time related processes are under time management. So they are structured around that. Now all these processes are again detailed out. They are detailed out into, like, every process we do has an objective. In project management, everything that we do involves time, money, resources. So everything that we do must have an output. Why we are doing that? So it describes, all the processes have certain outputs. It describes that output. Like if I am into a process called collecting requirements, the output of that would be a requirements documentation. What all are things that should go into requirements documentation? It details out that. If I'm planning for risk, if I'm identifying risks, then the output of that would be a risk register, the list of all the risks. If I'm planning for scope, the output of that would be a scope management plan. How do I manage my scope? How do I manage changes in scope? All that. And all these outputs are described in a detailed manner. How do we achieve those outputs? Those are called tools and techniques. So a detailed description of tools and techniques are also given. Like if I talk about again collecting requirements, what are the various ways of collecting requirements? Like I do interviews, workshops, I use surveys, I build prototypes and various other. If I'm controlling my cost, if I'm checking whether I'm over budget, if I'm checking whether I'm behind schedule or ahead of schedule, there is a tool technique prescribed called earned value management, which tells me whether I'm ahead or behind schedule, whether I'm over budget or under budget. If I'm developing my schedule, it tells me various techniques like critical path method, critical chain method, which method to use. So detailed description of all the tools and techniques are also given. And so in this way, PMP becomes very descriptive. It describes each and everything that you do in a project, right from the subject areas to the processes to the tools and techniques. Right? And PMP is more centric towards what the project manager has to do. Since the project manager is the person who is handling the project day in, day out, it is more centric towards project manager's role. It doesn't describe the role of other team members, other stakeholders in the organization. It is more towards project manager. But yes, as a project manager, I also describe the roles of others, but the guidance is more towards what the project manager has to do. In comparison to that, we need to understand how PRINCE2 is structured. PRINCE2 on the other hand is not based on a standard. Basically that's a methodology. PRINCE2 is a methodology. Now what do you understand by methodology? Methodology basically is a step-by-step process how to set up and run a project. PRINCE2 doesn't describe your tools, techniques. It leaves it to the team to decide which tool technique they will use. Emphasis is more on business case and benefits. Detailed description of the various project team members are given. Like in PMP, there is no description of, apart from project manager, there is no description of roles and responsibilities of other team members. In PRINCE2, you have detailed description of all the other team members, right from starting from executive, the management, the project manager himself, the team members, and so on. And as PMP is structured around subject areas called knowledge areas, around processes, PRINCE2 is more structured around principles, processes, and themes. Principles are like the guiding factors that should exist. If your project is following PRINCE2, they have to follow the principles. There are 7 principles in total. Like every project should have a continued business justification. You should always learn from experience. There is proper description of roles and responsibilities. In PRINCE2, you manage projects by stages. Rather than doing all the stages together, you manage it one stage at one time. Then you manage it by exception. Focus is more on products like risk register, business case, project brief. Focus is more on that. And PRINCE2 has to be, it should be customizable. It should be, guidelines are given how to tailor it, how to customize it depending on the need of your project, depending on the need of your organization, depending on the complexity of your project. So there are 7 guiding principles which helps you in running a project following PRINCE2 methodology. Now apart from that, there are 7 themes. Themes are what? Themes are basically the planning issues that you need to address as you plan your project, against what you will plan basically. So there is a business case theme. So basically you have to prepare a business case. There is an organization theme which talks about the roles, responsibilities and all. There is a quality theme. There are plans theme. There are risk themes. Change theme, progress theme. Change theme talks about how changes are to handle. Progress theme, how you'll report on progress, how you track progress. Risk theme talks about what are the various risks, how do you mitigate, how do you enhance. Right? Now all these principles, 7 principles and 7 themes that are there are applied in the processes. There are 7 processes in total. Processes are what? Processes are the steps that we do to run and to set up and run the project. There are 7 processes, namely like starting up a project, initiating a project, directing a project, controlling a stage, managing stage boundaries, managing product delivery, and closing the project. So you manage each of these stages at a time, one at a time. So this is how PRINCE2 is structured. PRINCE2 doesn't detail out tools and techniques, it leaves it to the team to decide on the tool and technique. PRINCE2 mainly details out the roles and responsibilities of the team members, whereas PMP doesn't detail out. So if I draw a very comparative approach between the two certifications, PMP and PRINCE2, again certain factors which I can compare. First thing, if I talk about recognition, both are recognized worldwide. Across every industries, an organization might be following PMP, an organization might be following PRINCE2, but yes, they are recognized worldwide. Popularity, in terms of popularity, since PMP is from PMI USA, you will find it more in usage in American countries, in Canada, and obviously in Asian countries. Because in Asian countries, if you see, most of our clients are US based, that's why PMP is more followed. If I talk about PRINCE2, it is more in usage in UK, Western Europe, Australia. PMP, as I said, is based on Guide to Project Management Body of Knowledge, which you call it PMBOK. The latest edition is 5th edition. And PRINCE2 is based on PRINCE2 manual. As I said, PMP is basically a guidance on how to do a project, guidance on what are the tools and techniques you'll use, guidance on what are the various outputs you'll create, what are the components of those outputs. The basic architecture, as I told you, that based on knowledge areas, there are 10 knowledge areas, 47 processes, inputs, tools and techniques for each process, and all these processes are again clubbed under process groups. There are 5 process groups, which is called initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling and closing. 5 process groups. These 5 process groups are developed on the concept of start, plan, do, check, act and close, which was created by Deming, the PDCA cycle which we call it. So the process groups are based on that. Whereas PRINCE2 is mainly architectured around 7 principles, the guiding principles which should be there in every project, which every project should follow. There are 7 themes, like the planning issues that you need to follow, that you need to address, and processes, the step-by-steps that you need to do in a project. And themes and principles are applied in each of these processes. In PRINCE2 you have guidance, how do you tailor, how do you define the roles and responsibilities. The major differentiator between these two are PMP is more descriptive, more detailed out. PRINCE2 talks about the steps that you need to follow, step-by-step guidance. It's prescriptive. In terms of roles responsibilities, as I said earlier, PMP is more about the role of a project manager, whereas PRINCE2 talks about the role of the project management team, the executive, the QA team, the team managers, project managers himself, the supplier, the user, the support, the board. Everybody's roles and responsibilities are described. Tools and techniques, PMP gives a detailed description of all the tools and techniques that you use for all the activities that you do in a project. PRINCE2 leaves it to the user. Now next is whether these certifications scalable depending on the complexity and need of the organization of the project. Yes, they both are. There could be a question, is there any direction and guidance from the sponsor, from the management of the project? In PMP, yes, there is a document which you prepare called Project Charter, which is basically a guidance from the senior members, from the senior stakeholders, project sponsor, how to run about the project, what are the various constraints that are there. And yes, in PRINCE2 there is a dedicated process out of the 7 processes called directing a project, which is a guidance from the management. How to tailor it depending on the organization requirements. PMP doesn't provide any guidelines. PRINCE2 provides guidelines on how to tailor it. In the manual it is mentioned how do you tailor it according to the organization's requirements. Certain aspects of project which everybody does, whosoever is the project management, like collecting requirements, estimating costs, preparing the schedule, reporting the various quality planning, quality assurance, quality control techniques, the various procurement techniques are described in detail in PMP. In PRINCE2 that is not covered. If I talk about aspects that we do before a project, that is pre-project activities, in PMP generally we cover some techniques of project selection. But yes, in PRINCE2 there is a detailed description of how to start our project before we generally start creating the project. And similarly, after completion of the project, that is post-project activities, there is no such guidance under PMP. PMP talks about since the role of the project manager and is mainly about the project, so activities, it closes as soon as the project objective is delivered, project delivery is created and handed over, it ends there. Whereas PRINCE2 creates something what is called a benefits review plan, which main purpose is to track whether the certification is able to achieve the benefit for which it has been taken up. Other differentiating factors or comparison factors, if I say between PMP and PRINCE2 is PMP is governed by PMI Project Management Institute, which is based out of USA. PRINCE2 now is owned by Excelos. How do you get a training for PMP or PRINCE2? PMP training is given by registered education provider like KnowledgeWorks is one of them, registered education providers of PMI. PRINCE2 is given by accredited training organizations, which again KnowledgeWorks is. Under Excelos, the general structure is under Excelos, the parent body, you will have examination institutes, which is called EIs. Under EIs, you will have ATOs. That is the general structure. So if you want to get trainings, you have to either connect to an RAP for PMP or to an ATO for PRINCE2. KnowledgeWorks provides both of them. Talk about the eligibility for PMP. You need to attend the training, formal project management training, and achieve 35 contact hours or PDUs, which they call it. And you should put 4,500 hours or 7,500 hours of project management experience, depending whether you are a graduate, full-time graduate, or a diploma holder, respectively. For PRINCE2, there are two certifications basically. One is PRINCE2 Foundation and PRINCE2 Practitioner. None of them requires any experience as such. PMP exam is mainly online. PRINCE2 is paper-based and generally conducted on the last day of the training. Foundation exam is generally conducted at the end of the first day or second day, and practitioner exam is generally conducted on the last day. And one more important thing which I'd like to point out, recently Excelos has done this, that if you are PMP certified or CAPM certified, both the certifications are from PMI, you don't have to go for PRINCE2 Foundation. You can directly go for PRINCE2 Practitioner. Earlier it was that you have to clear PRINCE2 Foundation and then only you can go for PRINCE2 Practitioner. Now it has been removed. If you are a PMP certified or a CAPM certified, you can straight away go ahead and attend the PRINCE2 Practitioner exam and training. The exam is conducted for PMP. It is done by Thomson Prometric. There are various centers across India and across the globe, which you can find it if you go to prometric.org and find out the various centers. PRINCE2 examination is conducted by the ATOs only on the last day of the training. PMP exam is a 4-hour duration exam. PRINCE2 Foundation is a 1-hour exam. PRINCE2 Practitioner is a 2.5 hours exam. Examination pattern is objective type. In PMP, you will have one question with 4 multiple choice questions. PRINCE2 Foundation is objective type. PRINCE2 Practitioner is also objective type, but the questions are not all like multiple choice. There will be different variety of questions. Like there will be some questions where you need to select 2 correct answers. Then the number of questions that you get in PMP are 200 in total. But out of that, you will be marked, you will be scored around, scored on only 175 questions. 25 questions will be there which are called pre-test questions, which will not carry any marks. But you will not know, obviously. PRINCE2 Certification Foundation will have 75 questions. PRINCE2 Practitioner will have around 9 questions. 9 questions will have some sub-questions. The result declaration, PMP, you get the result immediately on your screen once you give the exam online, that whether you are passed or failed. And then you get the certificate after a few days through postal email, through state mail. And for PRINCE2 Foundation, result is immediate. Practitioner, you generally get it after around 3 to 4 weeks, the result. How to retain the certifications, PMP. The day you become PMP, within the next 3 years, you need to collect 60 professional development units, which you can do by attending webinars, attending different other project management trainings, attending seminars, live sessions. and you can attain 60 PDUs in 3 years from the date of your certification. To retain your PMP, you don't have to give any re-exam. PRINCE2 requires a re-exam after 5 years to retain your certification. All the official details about PMP certification can be obtained from PMP handbook, which you can get it from the website of PMI, pmi.org. Similarly, for PRINCE2, you get it under PRINCE2 qualification scheme, which you can get it from the Excellence website. And these information you can also obtain from knowledge boards. If you just drop an email to them or talk to them over the phone, they will provide you these details. And on which they are based, the reference PMP is based on PMBOK, which is the 5th edition, and PRINCE2 is based on managing successful projects using PRINCE2. The edition is 2009. So these are some of the criteria which you should know while you select the certifications, especially if I talk about the location you are catering to, the organization, which methodology they are following, which standards they are following. If your organization is following PRINCE2, you should go for PRINCE2 certification. If your organization is more into PMI standards, project management standards, you should go for PMP. If it is US based PMP, if it is UK based or other influence countries, it should be PRINCE2. So to conclude, PMP and PRINCE2 both are equally recognized and respected across the world. It totally depends on which location you are into and which organization you are catering to. Both the certification adds value to your project management profile, because both the certification objective is to deliver the project successfully, is to have favorable results in the project. The framework basically is same. The objective is same, right? Only the processes approach is different. So PMP is more about developing your project management skills, whereas PRINCE2 is more about delivering the project from the project point of view. PMP is, as I said, mostly in US and US dominant countries. PRINCE2 is more in British and there are other influence countries. But last but not the least, having both the certification improves your marketability as a project manager. So if you ask me, I would suggest that yes, the first certificate, if you have not done any of them, first decide which one should be on your priority list, depending on the organization, depending on the client, depending on the location you are into, decide whether PMP or PRINCE2, and then down the line get PRINCE2 also. If you do PMP first, somewhere down the line do PRINCE2. If you are selecting, if you are working for an UK based organization, do PRINCE2 first, and then later down the line do PMP also. Both these certifications will add value to your profile, will improve your marketability, will improve your knowledge, and will be open to all the organizations, all the standards that are being followed. So with this, I come to the end of this session where I have given a brief overview about what is project management certification, where the world is moving into, what are the various surveys saying, why project management certification is important, why this skill set is important, the basic structure of the two most certifications sought after, PMP and PRINCE2, the basic structure you have, an idea of what PMP is based on, what PRINCE2 is based on. Right? So
thank you, Bhaskar. Thank you so much for this insightful presentation. We would request you to take up the questions now.
Yeah. So I'll just jump to the question answer round. First question by Vasu Senthil, other than PMP and PRINCE2, are there any certification available for project management? Yes, there are other certifications available for project management also, like if you talk about IPMA, there is a certification level 1, level 2 certification, but if you talk about the recognition of the certification, these two, PMP and PRINCE2, are the most widely recognized. So yes, there are other certifications, and if I talk about top 3, first is PMP, then is PRINCE2, and then third you will come across is IPMA certifications. Then I have another question from Talib Hussain, which talks about, is growth depends on certification? as I said at the beginning of this beginning of the session, that organizations are now going towards project management as a specialized skill set. They have recognized this fact that to remain competitive in this global economy, competitive global economy, and deliver business results, they have to have a bench strength which knows how to deliver projects in a structured manner, which are followed across globally, following certain standards, successful proven standards. So yes, certification is something which is becoming mandatory nowadays, day by day. If you go to organizations, if you look for project management jobs, any project management jobs in a manager level, there will be a criteria which says that yes, certification is mandatory, and either PMP or PRINCE2. So yes, I would suggest go ahead. If you're looking to grow in the project management domain, go ahead and give the certification. In India, still you will find some project managers who are not certified, but go to US, go to UK, you will see all project manager who is really doing a project management job is certified. It is mandatory out there. In India also it is becoming mandatory day by day. Then again, Talib Hussain, for fresher, what is important, knowledge or certification? First gain knowledge and then stamp that knowledge with a certification. Then let me look at one question is from Hemant Pradeep. It said, is it a myth or true that PRINCE2 is for Europe and PMP is for US clients? Now, as I said, yes, it depends on the location. Definitely these two certification depends on the location. If your client is US based, if their head offices are in USA, and PMI is a body which is in USA. Most of the organization, 95% or above organizations in US are following PMI standards, which is PMP. Whereas if I talk about PRINCE2, it is more prevalent in UK and other influenced British countries. So yes, these two certifications somewhere down the line, you have to decide based on the location you are catering to, based on the client where they are based. Now, Raj Goel has asked a question. Can you please explain more on PDUs? PDUs basically are called professional development units. It is basically the number of hours, formal number of hours that you have spent on formal education and project management as per PMI. Like to go for PMP, they have made it mandatory that you need to attend a training program from a registered education provider like Knowledge Woods for minimum 35 hours. That 35 hours becomes your 35 PDUs. Similarly, the day you get your PMP certification, from that date till 3 years down the line, you have to collect 60 PDUs, 60 professional development units. So basically it means you have to spend 60 hours in formal training, learning. So that is what PDUs is all about. Another question, how many hours of study is generally required for PMP? For PMP, typically I'll tell you, PMP is a certification which is not very tough. It is not at all very easy also. You have to prepare very smartly. It totally depends on what kind of training you have handled, training you have undergone, and what kind of references materials you are using. But typically if I say that being knowledge words from the past 7 years, I have seen people who give the examination within 35 to 40 days after the training. Chances of clearing that are higher. If you spend 3 to 4 hours every day from the date of training ends, next 30 days, 3 to 4 hours, chances of clearing it are very high. Then another question is, hands-on training required for PMP or PRINCE2? Yes, training are required for both of them. Without training, it would be very difficult to pass PMP, either PMP or PRINCE2. This question was from Mohammad Mohiddin Ahmed Sahib. So make sure that if you are planning to go for PMP or PRINCE2, you should attend the training. Then another question, studying a book for PMP is enough for clearing PMP exam, or some classroom sessions are required as well? Classroom sessions is mandatory in the sense for PMP because it gives you the 35 contact hours, plus it also helps you in preparing for PMP examination. I'll tell you why, because once you go ahead and training, the objective of these trainings is to tell you how PMP examination is structured, what are the typical kind of questions you can expect, and prepare you on that. Right? Studying a book won't help me in understanding how PMP examination, because these trainings are being developed by experts who has undergone this process of certification, who has done these certifications, so they know. One very good question which I come across most of the trainings that I conduct is from Tarun Kumar, is PMP also hold good for non-IT project? Yes, PMP is not any industry specific, it is generic project management. It talks about how you handle projects across every domain. As I said, these can be tailored. It can be tailored depending on construction organization, IT, ITS, banking, finance, product development organization, any organization. Another question from Gopal Kiswan is, if both certification is done, then it helps a PMO manager, or which is good one for PMO? PMO basically is a body which helps in managing the projects that are going on in the organization, which supports the projects that are going on in the organization. So if the organization is following PRINCE2, then being a PMO manager, you should go for PRINCE2 certification. If the organization is following PMP, you should go for PMP certification. If your organization is catering to both the clients UK and US, you should, as a PMO manager, you should do both the certification, because you should have a feel about both the standards and methodologies. For Raj, well, there is another question. What is the fee structure for PMP and PRINCE2? For that, I would suggest get in touch with Knowledge Woods. On my screen, if you see, I have two email IDs mentioned, info@knowledgewoods.in and support@knowledgewoods.com. If you can just drop an email to them, they will give you the entire fee structure, the membership fees, examination fees, training fees for them, and you can have a better clarity of the fees from them. Similar question is from Ashish Bindal, so same answer. Another question is from Mujammil Tambuli. What is about ITL 3? Is it completely different? First of all, ITL V3 is abolished now. Now it is ITL 2011 Foundation. ITL 2011, ITL Information Technology Infrastructure Library Certification talks about IT as a service. It is more into operations, not projects. One question from Robert is that PMP is more dominant certification for most Indian companies. What about PRINCE2 vis-a-vis these Indian companies? I'll tell you what is the case with India. In India, most of the organizations client are based out of US. That's why you will see PRINCE2 is PMP is more prevalent in India, because our clients are mostly US based. But yes, there are certain organizations which follows PRINCE2 methodology also. Like if I talk about RBS, Colt, they are following PRINCE2 methodologies. One question from Chetan Tanna, how much experience required? For PRINCE2 you require none. For PMP you require typically around 3 to 4 years of project management experience if you are a graduate holder, full-time graduate, and then 35 hours of formal training. Project management experience means that you should have experience of handling a team, delivering a project right from start to end. One question from Hari Prasad, one certification is good, PMP or PRINCE2 good enough, or should we do both? As a project management professional, to improve my marketability and my knowledge, it is always recommended to do both. Yes, don't try to do both at the same time. Prioritize based on your organization requirement, based on your job requirements, based on the client requirements, and then you do the other one also somewhere down the line. One question from Raman Malhotra, are these certifications industry specific? No, they are not industry specific. They can be applied to every industry. These certifications are not IT specific. These certifications are not construction specific. These can be applied to any industry. One question is from Akash Bajpayee, I'm a fresher. What certification should I get to raise the recognition? One certification is from PMI, which is called Certified Associate in Project Management. Go ahead and do that. That is mainly for freshers or people who have zero experience in project management. CAPM certification, which is from PMI. Go ahead and do that certification. One question is from Mohan Vamsi. Can functional consultant of 2 years be eligible for PMP or CM? 2 years you will be eligible for CAPM, not PMP as of now. One question from Ashish Bindal. Does it help to be a member of PMI or Excelos before attempting the certification? Yet, yes, it always does, because it helps us on networking. It helps us in talking to people who are in this domain. It helps us in knowing the various trends that are there going on in project management. So it's always beneficial. One question is from Sheikh Keyur Ashok Kumar. Which is better, being an IT manager, PMP, PRINCE2 or ITL? Now, being an IT manager, typically what kind of clients you're catering to? Are they US based? Are they following PMI standards? Then go for PMP. If they are following UK standards, UK methodologies, then go for PRINCE2. ITL is generally used if you are into operations, mainly the service desk, service operation. Then one question is from Gopal Keswani. Currently in India, PM has to be technical in Java or .NET. Kindly suggest. See, I'll tell you, there is still a wrong notion about a project manager's role. What most organizations, small organizations generally does is that they are looking for technical people who can also handle project management job. That's not possible. Yeah, project management is a specified skill set which nowadays organizations are realizing. A project manager doesn't have to be a technical person. He should know how to handle a team and how to handle a project. One question from Praveen. How do we start the PMP certification? What are the prerequisites? We have to start PMP 5th edition and then go for training. Typical the process is that, if I talk from a very high level view, first get the PMI membership, get a copy of Guide to PMBOK, go through it once, attend the training, you'll get the study materials, prepare for 30 days, book, in the meantime submit your application for the PMP exam, book your exam date, and then go ahead and give the exam. And more detail about the training, about this process, what are the study materials you should follow, I would suggest there are two email IDs written on my screen. Just so you can drop an email to our support team and they will be happy to guide you on this. One question from Tarun Kumar. Is there any separate certification on program manager? Yes, from PMI itself there is one certification called program management, PGMP, program management professional, which is generally for program managers. Praveen has a question on authorized training center. Come to KnowledgeWorks. KnowledgeWorks itself is an authorized training center for both PMP and PRINCE2 and trains people across India. Ashish Bindal has one question. Training on which subject can be accepted for PDU, 60 PDUs? Any project management domain, any IT related subject, any ITS related subject, any construction related, whichever course is registered under PMI for PDUs, which follows the methodology of PMI like initiating, planning, executing, control, is eligible to get 60 PDUs. But they have to be pre-approved by PMI. So if you're trying to get your 60 PDUs and you're going to attend a webinar, make sure that it's pre-approved. One question is from Tarun Agarwal. I need to ask, as I have seen that PMP require minimum 3 years of project experience. If I do not have that much experience, am I eligible for PMP? If you do not have 3 years of project experience, CAPM is a certification you can go for. But sometimes it is, I have seen professionals who are not able to articulate their experience in project management way. Project experience doesn't mean that you have to be a project manager or you have to handle a project, everything in a project. It's about you should be involved in the entire life cycle of the project across doing different projects. It's not necessary in one project you do everything. There can be multiple projects where you have done all the activities. So for qualification, I would ask you to again drop an email to the email IDs I mentioned, and they will check your eligibility and respond. For there are lots of questions related to certification fees, training fees, I would request you to get in touch with knowledgeables for that. They would be able to help you on that aspect, more detailed fee structure. For PMP, if I just talk about PMI membership initially would cost you around $139. Certification as a member would cost you $405. So total comes to $544 membership plus examination. In addition to that, you'll have the training fees which will be charged by the registered education providers. So you can ask knowledgeables how much their charges are and register for that. Dimple Shah has asked a question, can we take online training on classroom essential? You can take online training also, you can take e-learning programs also. knowledgeables has online, e-learning, live learning, classroom sessions. You can opt for any. Now, one question again from Dimple says that if my project is in Agile, which certification out of these will help me? If I'm already a CSM, PMI, ACP. If your project is following Agile methodologies, you can go for PMI, ACP certification. One question from Gopal, what are the various ways to gain PDUs? If I get PMP certified, there are various ways: attend webinars, attend trainings on various other topics of project management. There will be various online sessions, live sessions going on, attend those. Akash Vajpayee says that would you have to provide any written that you have attained PDUs? You'll generally get a certificate for PDUs which you can submit. On certificate there will be a code which you can submit. That would suffice your requirement. So I have almost answered all the questions that have been posted on the question tab. If any questions are left out, you can drop the questions in the email ID mentioned, or you can post it on TechGig's forum also, and I'll be happy to answer them. I've tried to answer almost all the questions. Even if I missed out on anything, please make sure you drop your questions and I'll be happy to answer. So with this, I end this session. I'll hand it over to Deepika and she'll just take it over from here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhaskar. Thanks for the insightful presentation. I'm really thankful to you for conducting this webinar today. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgig.com very soon. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.